Please welcome Hannah Rankin.
You know shit about boxing.
Hi everyone, welcome to You Don't Know Shit About Boxing, episode 3, a podcast brought to you by SecondsOut. I'm delighted to welcome my co-host, Georgia Banks.
Hello, again.
And this week, we have a very special guest.
Entering the arena at this time from Glasgow, Scotland, please welcome Hannah Rankin.
Yeah.
Hey guys. I've been very excited about this for a few weeks. I think it was Danny said it was like the fastest time I've ever replied to him on a text message. It was maybe like 0.3 seconds.
Yeah.
So,
That might say more about our relationship than anything else.
That's impressively quick.
Not actually from Glasgow, though, are you?
Well, no, I'm a little bit further north, Loch Lomond, in a tiny little village called Luss, but like most people don't know Luss. And actually, they might know it from Take the High Road. That's where that was filmed a very long time ago. But yeah, Glasgow's the city I spent the most time in. So
Fair enough. Now, you've got a big fight coming up. You're already a world champion, of course, WBA and IBO super-welterweight, but you've got homecoming.
yes.
Tell us all about that, not long to go.
No, I know. It will come out for 6 weeks, so I'll be fighting at home in Glasgow at the Hydro, and I will be headlining at the Hydro, which I'm ecstatic about, to be perfectly honest. I think that's pretty much every single Scottish boxer's dream come true, and it's actually happening, so very, very proud. I'll be fighting a Mexican opponent called Alejandra Ayala. I think it's going to be a great fight, really exciting, and a great fight to top the bill.
that was some lovely pronunciation, by the way.
You don't know if it's right or wrong, but it's lovely.
Yeah, but normally we kind of butcher.
Yeah,
Don't we?
I try to get it right because I know Claressa is always getting fed up with people spelling her name wrong, and so like for me, I always try and make sure people's names are said right if I can.
First mention of Claressa Shields, I'm sure it won't be the last on this episode.
No doubt.
Now, we're recovering, I guess, from a big fight at the weekend, not as much as Kiko Martinez is and Josh Warrington, I'm sure. They went to war and Warrington got, can't say his revenge, because obviously he beat him the first time, but he got his IBF featherweight title back. And we saw some female boxing on the undercard.
Yes.
So it's probably a good opportunity to talk a little bit about that. Ebony Bridges, much maligned in some quarters, but has now won a world title at bantamweight. What did you make of the fight?
Do you know what? I'm really happy for her. She's put lots of hard work in, and she does get a lot of abuse online for the way that she acts and the way she holds herself. I think it's very unfair as well. You know, we've all got to, as professional fighters, we've all got to sell tickets, and however which way you wish to do it, you know, it's down to you and each individual person. But I was quite surprised at Roman's, her sort of plan for the fight. I think she was hoping that Ebony was going to tire out and she was going to let her burn it all out at the beginning half of the fight and then come on strong for the second half. I think that's kind of what I got from it anyway, but Ebony didn't burn out and she just kept going, and yeah, she was the clear winner.
What did you make of it, Georgia? Particularly the Roman side of things, because she wasn't, I expected her to be more technical and she didn't really do much for the first 4 rounds, and then after that it was more of a brawl.
I definitely think Bridges stuck it on her, and strength-wise and power-wise, Ebony was she was the stronger fighter. And I think when they came in together, I think she expected to be able to get out of it, but Ebony's, like, Mark Tibbs has done a fantastic job with her. And yeah, especially from her fight with Courtney, completely different fighter, in my opinion.
Definitely technically much improved, I think. And just, she was always trying to finish the argument, always throwing in that last shot at the very end. And I do think Roman was concerned about Ebony's power. You could see that. I think she wanted to really test it at the beginning, but I thought she just waited too long, keeping it all tucked up, and she was landing some good shots. Like she come in and, eventually after Ebony finished her onslaught, then she landed a couple of good ones of her own, but she was so tight. I don't think she planned on it being that sort of limited in the amount of shot that was coming out.
Now, talking of Shannon Courtney, she was doing commentary on the fight. Hannah, you're going to be doing some punditry on this weekend's Sky show, which we'll talk about in a bit. What did you make of Shannon on the mic?
Yeah, Shannon was pretty good on the mic. She was quite clear and very sort of non-biased in either way, obviously, especially considering that her and Ebony Bridges and the history and stuff. So
I feel like they've mended that gap now, though.
I'm not sure about that.
It'll widen again once they fight or once the rematch is announced.
Absolutely, there was a lot of respect on the night, and at the end of the day, when you're if you're doing the commentary, you want to be able to actually, just talk about it and say what you're seeing and stuff like that. So you don't want to be getting into personal feelings towards other people and stuff like that. It's just, it's not very professional. So I think she did a good job.
And Sky Nicholson on the undercard as well, Olympian, kind of still potentially planning to stay amateur at the same time as her professional bouts. What would you make of that as a kind of strategy?
Well, I think obviously she's in the baby stages at the very beginning, so she can afford to do that. I think it's up to 6 professional fights, and then you're not allowed to go back to the Olympics. I think that's what it is in the UK. Some other countries you can go back at any age, which I don't think is fair. But I think up to 6 bouts is fair. So I think that it's a good tactic for her, because if she can go, to box at the Olympics, why would you not want that opportunity? So I think she did well. She was fighting Beck Connolly. Yeah. Obviously Beck's been in with most people, most of the girls, and I think Beck struggled with the southpaw side of it really very much. She wasn't able to get her shots off at all. And I can still see Sky is going to do a little bit more to sit down on her punches. She's still very much in and out. But then, of course, if she's going back to the Olympics, then maybe she's trying to maintain a little bit more of that amateur style.
Now, people won't be surprised that this week's topic is the UK female boxing evolution. Bit of a mouthful, but a very important topic. And for this one in particular, we thought there's no one better placed than Steve Bunce, than Hannah Rankin to talk to us about it. I just think a good place to start would be from your point of view, telling us how you feel female boxing's changed from when you made your pro debut to where we are right now.
Okay, so it's night and day since my pro debut to now. When I made my debut, there was so much negativity about it. It was just like, why do you want to box? You could do anything else. Why are you getting into boxing? It's not for women to have fights. People don't want to watch women's boxing. And now you fast forward 6 years later, and women are becoming household names. And ironically, I really think that's actually down to the pandemic, because we actually had a captive audience stuck at home. They couldn't leave their houses, and there wasn't much sport on TV, but Eddie decided to put on some great fights, and he put on some women's world title fights and top level fights. So people had a chance to really be introduced to, the top level of women's boxing. And people were like, oh, actually, this is exciting. And all the fights were super exciting that were in the garden or behind closed doors. Mine and Savannah's, we won Dramatic Fight of the Year from the WBC. So, I don't think one of the female fights let any of it down. And I think people were just surprised at the ferocity and, the speed and the pace the girls brought to every single round. There was no kind of feeling out process. It was just get on with it. And it's been brilliant for us. So now we are in a really good position, and women's boxing is just continuing to rise, which is really nice to see.
Is there anything in the female side of the sport that isn't the same as the men's that you still like to see change, whether it's the reception, the coverage, the actual rules? What would you think about that?
I think for me, we definitely need to have 3-minute rounds, or even, like I've said, as a compromise for when you get to world title level, we should have it going up to 12-2s at least, just to start off with. If the argument is that women shouldn't be doing 3-minute rounds for the reason that apparently we sweat more over the time and it's more dangerous for brain injuries, but that all needs to be researched a little bit more, I think, these days. So I definitely think that would bring more depth to the women's games as well, because at the moment it's 10 rounds for a European or a Commonwealth, and then it's 10-2s for a world title as well. So I really think you need that differentiation, and that will just let us grow even more.
And this weekend we've got Savannah Marshall defending her WBO middleweight title against Femke Hermans. How good is Savannah, having been in there with her yourself?
I think she's a great fighter. She's got a real style of her own, and that's something that's really come on from her work with Peter Fury. I think the pair of them are a great partnership and a great team. And I think he's done wonders for her confidence as well. And that's a really good thing to have in boxing, obviously. She's big for the weight. She's a very big middleweight. And I think there's lots of exciting fights out there for her. I think this fight with Femke Hermans is actually the first time we're really going to see her in there with someone who's been a super middleweight and a middleweight, a bigger opponent for her around that weight class. So I think it'll be a good fight for us to see, and good preparation for her actually coming up against Claressa, who's a middleweight as well.
Now you've got Savannah Marshall in that fight, a lot bigger than you, as we can tell. You were going to go down to welterweight. You've ended up settling at Super-welter, won a world title there. Apart from the size disadvantage, what else did you find was difficult or challenging about fighting her?
I think her timing. She's got a very distinct sort of timing, and trying to figure that out against your own timing and fit your own shots in. I think that's one of the hardest things to do, because it's a very sort of, you think it's slower than it is, but then you're trying to, and actually the shots are coming in. So once she gets into her rhythm, it's really nice to watch, and that's a difficulty to deal with. Also, she is a heavy puncher, and I think when you're that big and you fill out the weight, and with that relaxed style, she's got power behind the punches. So that's also something to deal with as well. So those would be aspects of the fight that obviously Carissa's going to have to deal with when they come together.
So yeah, to hear a bit more about female boxing generally, particularly our 4 UK world champions currently, we go over to Josh Green in the green room.
Thank you very much, guys, and welcome back to the green room. A different room this week. I'm sure we'll be going through all the rooms in my house as the weeks progress. But I'm here to talk about the current UK boxing women's champion at world level anyway. We've got 4 champions at world level, them being Savannah Marshall, Hannah Rankin of course, Natasha Jonas and Chantel Cameron. We'll start with Savannah Marshall, who's fighting this weekend up in her hometown of Newcastle. She won the WBO middleweight title a couple of years ago from Hannah Rankin, has since defended it a couple of times, and is obviously on a collision course with Claressa Shields, who we hope to see that fight for all the belts, all 5 belts, hopefully towards the end of this year. That's the hope anyway. Hannah Rankin, of course, who we've got in the studio today, a champion with the WBA and the IBO at light middleweight. We know obviously faced Savannah Marshall at middleweight, and now a light middleweight champion. She defeated Maria Lindberg not so long ago down at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and the only Scottish champion on this list, of course. Natasha Jonas as well, we have to add to the list after her exciting win against Chris Namus of Uruguay up in Liverpool on a matchroom card, of course. She's the WBO light middleweight champion, stepping up, of course, quite a few weights. I think she'd featured at super feather, at lightweight, of course, but she's light middleweight champion of the world. You could see the difference in stature and size between her and Chris Namus in that fight, but she overcame the odds, and now she's got to defend that belt against some much bigger girls. We'll see how she gets on in the months and maybe even years to come. And finally, of course, Chantel Cameron. She is, and let me get this right, the WBC, IBF and Ring Magazine champion at light welterweight. Obviously, Callie Reese is the holder of the other 2 belts. Matchroom, of course, putting on the 4-woman tournament. We've seen the semi-finals of that, and the final will be for all 5 of the belts at light welterweight. I think there's probably going to be a date announced soon for that, so we hope to see an undisputed champion in the UK in terms of Chantel Cameron of Northampton becoming a holder of all 5 belts. Maybe we'll see some more champions, plenty of talent in the UK coming through, maybe add to those 4 in the years to come. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Josh. Always appreciate the view from the green room. Now, there was a lot of talk, obviously, about Savannah eventually fighting Claressa Shields. Was touted to be the biggest female fight of all time until a certain Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano swept in and stole the thunder. But if Savannah comes through at the weekend, you would expect that to be a fight that Boxer and Sky, with both of them now under contract, would be looking to make. Yeah. You've done a lot of work with Claressa. You fought her as well. What makes her special?
Claressa is a really special talent. She's a multiple weight world champion. She's a 2 times Olympic gold medalist. I mean, you can't say much more about somebody really. And she's gone through the weight classes, and, every single time she's fought champions and people of high standing. And the fights have been really exciting. Her technical ability on show is very impressive. Like, the number of punches she throws in a fight as well at that weight class is also impressive. So I think, this is a great fight for her. It's something different for her, and it'll be like a different style. And I think the 2 styles are going to gel together for a really interesting fight because, you know, we haven't really seen her come up against someone like Savannah before. And likewise with Savannah, I don't think she's come up against someone like Claressa just yet, you know, especially with all of the rest of the stuff that comes with Claressa, not just the boxing side of it. You know, she's not a quiet person and she'll say exactly what she wants to say, you know. So I think, yeah, it's going to be one that's really exciting, and hopefully we're going to see it made soon because, like you said, Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor are getting on, so I think these two should be getting on. It's in the middleweight division. It's kind of like our heavyweight division. It's kind of the exciting one. So, yeah, I cannot wait. I'm so excited about it, really.
Who are you picking?
I'm going with Claressa for this one. Yeah. No, they always ask me, and having fought both fighters, I think as a whole package, Claressa wins this one.
Who do you prefer, Georgia?
I am through and through Savannah Marshall's #1 fan.
For your Hannah's #1. Oh, I suppose you could be both, couldn't you?
I mean, I have many favourites. It depends what week you catch me on. But I didn't like what they did to Claressa after her last fight on Boxer. I thought that was really
disrespectful.
Really disrespectful because they wouldn't have done it to anybody else, and they wouldn't have done it if Savannah's not a bitey person, and I think for them to bring her over there in that moment, that was Claressa's moment. That was her moment. She'd won, and it didn't sit right with me.
Absolutely, and like, you know, we saw it at the weekend when you know, Lee Wood, he was just pure class at the end. Everyone's talking about him and Josh Warrington, like, oh, let's get this fight on. He's like, no, this is Josh's moment, and we should all celebrate it for him because it's a big moment. And I think it was pretty classless with Claressa, and obviously Claressa's hot-headed, and I think they played on her nature 100%. A little bit and used it to help sell the fight more. I was really surprised that Savannah was like that because I think that's the most I've ever heard her say. So I was super, super surprised that she was so sort of aggressive and argumentative. So, I think obviously Claressa's always been like that. It was a surprise to see that from Savannah. And I personally think it was the wrong thing to do, especially seeing as they're both promoted by the same people and on the same, they're signed under the same thing. It is like putting your own fighters kind of against each other, which I don't think looks great, in my opinion.
In the run-up to that Claressa's fight that week as well, it was very much, they were pushing her personality. The UK was falling in love with her. That's what was happening. And then as soon as that moment came, it was like they tried to tarnish her all over again. And I just,
I think the whole trash talking thing and how women should behave or come across as humble and polite and nice. I'm a fighter. At the end of the day, I'm getting in there to knock 10 bells out of someone over 10 rounds. If I can knock them out, I'm going to. So I don't think we should be made to be seen as, oh, it's all very nice. Let's have a cup of tea together. That's not what it's like. Do you know what I mean? And I think obviously in America, I really like that side of it in America, where people have that, they're honest, they come out, they say exactly what they think, and you don't have to be this humble character, you know. Whereas I think here in the UK, it's still very much that sort of like women should behave this way, and I find that just so boring. You know, it is. You know, we have characters, we have personalities, so we should let them come across.
Definitely.
Well, I think we're going to hear Claressa's reaction to that ringside confrontation, but first we're going to hear from Savannah Marshall's trainer, Peter Fury.
Savannah Marshall and Claressa Shields is the biggest fight out there, because Savannah Marshall, you know, we've not really seen, she's never had to dig deep yet. You'll see something else when she really has to dig deep, and you know, that's what I'm interested in. So Savannah's only scratching the surface with Savannah at the moment. She's a phenomenal fighter, and I pick her to do very big things, and next year it'll be proven.
Is it the biggest fight in women's boxing history?
I think without a doubt, yeah, because you got a puncher, you got a boxer, and she brings pure excitement. And she's heavier as well. You know, she's a big, strong girl, so you know she can fight, box. Like I said, she brings pure excitement.
So the fight that all British boxing fans want, and I think American boxing fans, is yourself and Savannah Marshall. You had a few words ringside. What were you saying to each other? We didn't pick up on everything that was said.
Well, the thing is, everybody always criticize me about how I come at girls, right? But nobody ever say nothing about what these girls say to me. She comes up there and she's like, oh, I don't wipe the floor with Claressa. I didn't even hear what she said. So I asked the guy, like, what she say? He's like, oh, I'll wipe the floor with Claressa. Like, you do what? First of all, you got one belt, and you wouldn't even have that belt if I wouldn't have to vacate it to be undisputed at 154 to make history. And it's like, you've been pro as many years as I've been pro. You don't have no other division world titles. You only have one world title at 160. And the only reason why everybody making this fight so big, because I'm so great and you got to win in the amateurs when I was 17. It's like, she's a bum. And that's why I'm here to show the world that I'm the greatest, and she's just a girl who runs her mouth and wants some clout. But she's going to get her money's worth, and she's going to get her ass kicked pretty bad.
Yeah, so Georgia was popping for that big time. Claressa Shields, that is, not Peter Fury, but no disrespect to him. Now, as people watching on the YouTube version will now notice, I've got my phone out, got a lot of stick
Don't
for that.
for him,
yeah,
please.
Episode 1.
I'll have
Still
to
not
consult him
recovered,
again. He'll be
emotionally
crying.
scarred.
We're out of tissues.
But I need it to refer to our question of the week responses. And this week we put out on our social platforms, would you like to see 3-minute rounds in women's boxing? A real kind of discussion topic in recent months. So we'll start with Gregory Houston, who has a problem. He doesn't. They do 3 minutes in amateurs, so why not as a pro? If the insistence is 2 minutes, then at least give them 12 rounds for championship bouts, which is what Hannah was alluding to earlier. Yep. It's ridiculous to make a double reduction. I think that's a fair point. Yes to 3-minute rounds. This is from @PullingThePunch. Yes to 3-minute rounds. Uses up more energy. People get more tired. Fighters get into more of a flow, take their time. All this should favour more KOs, which is the key ingredient female boxing is currently missing. KOs bring in the views.
Tell Terry Harper
that. Yeah. Ouch.
I love Terry Harper, by the way. Just putting out
Talking
there.
of things that bring back hard memories.
That fight broke my heart. Broke my heart.
Yeah, that was a hard one to watch, that one.
And what do you make of the whole 3-minute rounds debate? Because you said about doing more rounds, but what do you make of longer rounds?
So personally, as a fighter, I absolutely would kill to have 3-minute rounds. I would love that. It would give me more time in the round to set things up. And obviously, I know Amanda Serrano has come out and said, well, you should be able to get the job done in 2 minutes. And she is absolutely right. If it's 2 minutes, it's 2 minutes, right? But 3-minute rounds would give us more chance to set things up. And like you said there would be an opportunity of more stoppages and more KOs. However, I think Rick Ramos said it, that if we had 3-minute rounds, we'd probably see a lot more KOs, yes, but then we'd probably have less fighters available because people would have their suspensions, and there's just not as many female fighters. So therefore, you'd have a lot of people on suspension, and there'd be less female fights. So it would actually do us a disservice. So I think the 12-2s are good because the general public love the speed and the pace. That's what I'm getting from most people out and about. They love how fast-paced it is, and it's exciting to watch. So 12-2s would be a good sort of like in the balance for now.
And @Colin Middlemas says, I'd have to say quite like 2-minute rounds as there's no coasting in the rounds or taking rounds off. But, and similar to Hannah, although he wouldn't have known that when he sent it, would rather 12 rounds than 10. So there you go. And now we've got questions specifically for our special guest.
Okay.
And you've seen some of these already, I think, haven't you, when people have responded on social media, so it's not entirely unprepared. So this is from Rack Noble, former Southern Area champion, now a bit of a boxing Twitter hero. He says, Hannah, it's YOU''RE, dude. Come on, I'm not happy with this. Hannah, you're such a nice and positive person who never looks down or speaks negative upon others. Set you up here, isn't it? But what are your real thoughts on female fighters who are handed easy paths and titles compared to yourself who had to work up from ground zero?
That's a good question. Obviously, my career has been a little bit different from other fighters. Like I've taken opportunities when they've come up, and whether or not it's been, stepping well out my weight class to go up to super middle, fight Alicia Napoleon, go to America, go to Malta, go to different places, So, but I'm not afraid to have done that. And I feel that if you have been given the opportunity to have an easier fight, why would you knock it? Like, this sport's not a long sport, and if you can have an easier night's work, then why should you complain about it? However, what I do find is that people should be willing to take more risks. It is a combat sport. We want to see exciting fights. If you're in there against people who aren't very exciting and aren't going to make people go, oh, I love this fight, then why are you in there? Also, as a fighter, you should want to test yourself. And if you don't want to get in there with the other people who are on your same level as you or above, then you're not really pushing yourself.
Who are the biggest risk avoiders out of interest?
Biggest risk avoiders? Oh, I couldn't name anybody. But yeah.
You are the nicest person.
Well, it's not for me to say. There's often reasons why people end up with particular opponents. And actually, this is something that we were talking about in my team quite recently. Women's fighting, there's just not as many fighters out there. Like, people all have ambition. You get a loss, but that doesn't mean that fighter is going to become a journey person.
Yeah.
Like, they're actually they want to potentially come back and have a shot at a title again later on. And that's why women's boxing is actually compared quite a lot to the UFC, because, you know, the best fight the best a lot of the time. But then again, it is hard to get opponents. So therefore, sometimes people end up with fighters that they probably didn't want to fight, or they have to fight again. Also, the British Boxing Board don't allow us to take as easy opponents as you might be able to do in, say, somewhere in South America, for example, as a defence for a world title.
Fair enough. Roy Kelly, who does a lot of work in the Northeast, I'm sure he'll be there this weekend. Great guy, works for us as well. First, congrats to Hannah on her title success. And given she has shared a ring with both Claressa Shields and Savannah Marshall, how does she think the fight will go if and when it happens? Now, you've already said you bet Claressa to win.
Yes.
But how do you see the fight kind of panning out, the fight pattern, if you like?
So I see Claressa being ahead by halfway, you know, just from pace and, you know, her combination punching and her perfect use of distance. I think as well, Savannah's shown that she doesn't like to be pressurized, you know, in those first few rounds. It's not what she likes. And also Claressa's got some really good, that sort of American style head movement, which I think will cause Savannah a few problems. My head movement was doing a good job and mine's nowhere near as good as Claressa's. So I feel that might cause a few problems. It's the second half of the fight that I'm really excited for, because does Savannah get her timing better with Claressa? Does she manage to stop Claressa getting on the inside and working inside, and, you know, like she did with Christina Hamer, she just rushed her and then took that space and worked inside and threw hundreds of punches. So, but then is she going to come onto a shot by rushing in? You know, is Savannah going to manage to land one of those big uppercuts? You know, she had the flash knockdown with Hannah Gabriel's. So, you know, the second half of the fight for me is the exciting part of the fight. But I still see Claressa winning this one.
We've got one from Charlie Parsons. Great guy, Charlie, who seems to think he's charged by the word on Twitter, because he's just said, unification W Jonas ? Which I'm guessing means, would you be up for a unification fight with Natasha Jonas?
Of course. You know, I've been asked about this multiple times recently. Having another fighter in my division in this country is amazing. You know, it's great, and it'd be fantastic for British boxing and women's boxing as a whole. Both of us are big advocates for women in the sport, and we've been pushing for, you know, more eyes on us. So to have two of us here in this country, why not? It's a great fight, and I won that belt.
Andy White, he's like the anti-Charlie Parsons, as he's got two questions for you. He says, who do you think is a better... Oh, no, it's Savannah Marshall, Claressa Shields again. You've already answered that. I'll take it back. Question 2, how do you balance boxing against playing the bassoon?
So
we talked about your music, have we?
Yeah, no. Bassoon-wise, when obviously at the moment, as I've got higher up in the level where I'm at, and as world champion now, my training camps, you know, they take precedent and priority right now. So my bassoon goes on the back foot. I still have one student that I see, but that's because he's my favourite and he works really hard. But the rest of the time...
give him a shout out.
Yeah, Misha Turnbull, he does amazingly. And he's doing really well, actually. So yeah, I still see him during camp. But other than that, I don't do my music stuff because I need to focus in on what I'm doing in the ring. And also, I don't want to be playing Mozart and then thinking about knocking someone out. It just doesn't quite gel very well together for me.
I could see that, yeah.
And the final one, again, going back to Colin Middlemiss, he says, do you think there should be British titles in female boxing?
So, this is the British title is one that I would have loved to have had, like, get my hands on. Like, I think every single boxer, anyone that's ever boxed, I think that the Lonsdale belt is the most beautiful thing. However, the cost of actually making a Lonsdale belt often outweighs what both girls would be getting paid to fight still, because we don't get paid the same as the guys yet. And so justifiably, I don't think a promoter can say that they're going to pay for the title belt plus pay the girls and actually it be financially viable at all. But then also, there's not quite enough of us yet in the UK. Like, I think some of the divisions are starting to fill out really nicely, like the welterweight, super-welterweight division, that's filling out. They're one of the lighter ones as well. But the thing is, you can own that belt outright, but you have to defend it so many times. And if there's not enough of you in the UK to defend against it, does it sort of cheapen its value? Whereas I think that's one of the greatest things about the Lonsdale belt is that eventually you can own that belt outright and it's yours forever. And but you've had to work really hard for it. You know, it's like, it's not just, you not just got it on one, you've got it in like 4 times, you know, and then it's yours. So I just don't think there's enough of us here in the UK just yet, but that's changing. So hopefully in a couple of years' time, we'll see a female Lonsdale belt on the line.
Do you have a kind of person in your mind who's up and coming in the female ranks?
Oh, Loads of them. But yeah, Ellie Scotney.
Yeah.
She's a really good friend of mine, but she's one that I think is really, she's got skills for days, and she's never in an easy fight. There's always something, she doesn't get matched easily. She's not been cotton wool all the way around her to now. She's had tough fights, and her style is exciting to watch. Plus she's an absolute gem. So definitely someone to watch.
She's brought up quite regularly on this podcast.
Do you know what? She's funny as well. She's very funny, and she just lives and breathes boxing, and she's doing really great things with Shane McGuigan. So for female fighters, definitely.
I think she's really annoying, to be honest. Just kidding. I know she'll listen to this.
Oh, and Caroline Dubois.
Yes, yeah.
Legend. Yeah, we've been doing quite a bit of sparring together, and also I just think she's a star in the making. Someone that just has star qualities. She speaks well, she holds herself well, she boxes beautifully, and a really exciting southpaw. I don't say that very often. She's a really exciting southpaw, and she's got power, and she's explosive, and she's so young. So think of how young she is now and where she's going to be in a little while. She comes from a great family. The family are all lovely. So I just think there's so many exciting fights, and her career is just going to take off.
Now, if you think you know shit about boxing, keep an eye out on our socials, and you can let us know your questions for the next guest we have on here, plus a question of the week responses when we put the questions out. Now, when we come back, Hannah will be taking a rather different line of questioning from Miss Georgia Banks in the hot seat.
From Glasgow, Scotland, please welcome Hannah Rankin.
Hannah Rankin, welcome to the hot seat.
Thank you.
We're going to be playing a game called The Worst People in the World.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
The worst people in the world. People who hog gym equipment and sit on their phone, or people who spar like they're competing and that they want to try and hurt you.
People who hog gym equipment and then sit on their phone. I've got stuff to do.
People who put clips on Smith machines, or people who don't wash their wraps ever.
The second one's just minging. That's the worst.
Can you smell it as you say
I
it?
just don't.
People who pretend to be out of breath on their way out of the gym, or people that stand too close to you while they're skipping and keep whipping you.
If anybody whipped me with a skipping rope, they bloody know about it. I'm not about that.
People who keep talking to you through circuits, or cyclists riding two abreast on a country road.
So I'm going to be controversial here. I just can't stand cyclists. So it'll have to be cyclists.
I feel like everybody that comes on this podcast has the same feelings.
Motorists.
That's true. People who don't put their weights back in the gym, or people who post really vague statuses on social media. So they'll just tag themselves into hospitals or something like that.
Vague statuses. Why are you doing that? It's just completely random.
People who eat with their mouths open, or people that don't bring a towel to training.
Can I say both of those?
Yes.
Really grim.
People that kick up the spit bucket and stir up the smell, or people that leave empty water bottles around the side of the ring.
The first one's so gross. I can't deal with that.
And finally, people who phlegm in the sink and don't wash it away, or drivers that don't wave thank you when you let them out.
It's got to be the first one. That's not okay.
It's horrible, right?
Who does that?
I know a lot of people that phlegm freely.
Oh, no. No. That's grim.
And that was Hannah Rankin's Worst People in the World.
From Glasgow, Scotland, please welcome Hannah Rankin.
Well, that was different.
It's the same every week. What do you mean?
Well, I suppose it depends on the guest. And talking of guests, we've had a wonderful one. Hannah, really, really appreciate your time.
No, thank you so much for having me. It's been great, and I've really enjoyed this. It's been a good catch-up about all things women's boxing.
This has been my favourite podcast so far.
Thanks.
Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. We're on YouTube, obviously, but also Apple Music, Spotify, Podbean. Have I missed any out? Google Music, on everything. Just get involved.
That's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah. We're taking over. We're not taking part. We're taking over. Really appreciate you all watching, and we'll see you all in 2 weeks. Yo,
Danny Flexen here. Think you know shit about boxing? There's only one way to find out. Listen to the full podcast via one of the links in the description or go to secondsoutboxing.podbean.com.
Do you know shit about boxing?